Kia ora, good morning everybody. Before I take questions, I just want to pass some remarks about the global trading situation. This week we have seen a profound shift in the global economic landscape, and the way that countries respond to these events has the potential to have significant impacts on New Zealand. We've all seen the immediate impact on KiwiSaver balances, but wider than that, it is hurting growth prospects at a time when the global economy needs certainty and confidence, not uncertainty. And yes, we're not as badly affected as many other countries that face up to 50% extra tariffs on exports into the United States. But what actually is concerning me is the shift away from agreed rules and the risks of actually backsliding into a global trade war. And a trade war is frankly in nobody's interest. It will slow global growth, it will hurt jobs, and it will reduce the amount of money we have in our wallets. As New Zealand, I'd just say we are well positioned and have a lot of advantages in our favour. We are a small, open economy, a country that has benefited tremendously from 30 years of our businesses investing and trading with confidence in the rules. And we have competitive farmers and businesses that export great products and services all around the world that will continue to remain in high demand. For some time, New Zealand has been building a network of trading arrangements that reduces our dependence on just a few markets. We see that with our CER relationship with Australia, the CPTPP, or our FTA with the EU. And of course, over the last 16 months, my government has continued that work, expanding trade with the UAE and the GCC, and now launching trade negotiations with India. We have a strong history of advocating for an open, rules-based trading system, and I will work with like-minded countries to promote free trade as a path to prosperity for New Zealanders and for those that we trade with. Free trade has been a bedrock of New Zealand's living standards for many years, and so my commitment is that my government and I will be the biggest advocates for free trade on the world stage. And as I said at the beginning of the year, economic growth is our government's top priority, because it's only through economic growth that we can create the jobs, lift incomes, and keep the cost of living down, and so that hard-working Kiwis can get ahead. Yes, we're entering choppy waters, but we step into that from a very strong base. And with that, I'd say that New Zealand's best days actually lie ahead of us.
What's prompted you to feel like you need to come out and say this? Has anything changed?
Well, it's consistent with what I've been saying over recent days, but I just want to be really clear to New Zealanders that yes, there's no doubt about it. This will have an impact, not necessarily in our bilateral trade with the US. As I said, we've got a baseline level of tariffs that we've talked about, but it's actually the global impact of all of that, and there will be some upsides and some potential downsides of that. We will manage that really well. We'll continue to be very calm, very collected, and work our way through those issues as they arise, and we've got capacity to do so. But importantly, we're going to continue to advocate very strongly for the rules. And we're also going to continue to make sure we're doing everything to expand trade around the world.
If you're raising words and concerns around the trade war,
well, it's been consistent from day one, and what we've advocated with the American system, which is that we just don't think tariffs and a trade war is good for the global economy. And what you're seeing with the events over the last 24 hours, with markets in particular around the world being really challenged, that is a signal that clearly people are reading into the tariffs that it's going to drive into inflation, it's going to slow up economic growth, and therefore slow up global growth. And that's a challenge for us because it's the wash up of all of that and what that means for us going forward. It's the same for all 195 countries in the world, but it's important that New Zealanders know that we've got this, that we will be able to work our way through it and manage it well.
Is this you preemptively coming out to warn New Zealanders? I mean, you said we've got choppy seas ahead, that we're going into another round of very, very tough economic circumstances.
Well, it's us saying we trust our plan, and actually we've been, over the last 16 months, you've seen us wanting to expand trade. We've talked about our Going for Growth plan, the 5 pillars that we're working our way through. All of that is still stays in place. That is actually more of a commitment to double down on all of that, to say that we are plotting our course. Yes, we may be sailing in a bit more turbulent seas, but we actually can find a way through this, and we can do this. But that requires us to continue to do what we're doing, to even double down, to even go harder, and to make sure that we've got strong, good economic management through this period of time, which we have.
You said in those remarks that you're going to work with like-minded countries. Is this you sending a signal that the US is no longer a like-minded country with New Zealand?
Well, it's sending a signal that we're not just reliant on the US, that we have trading relationships with many countries around the world. In my conversations with leaders over the last, frankly, 6 to 9 months, we've talked a lot about, wanting to have closer relationships with a number of different countries. That's why you've seen us out there in the ASEAN countries, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Philippines, Japan, Korea, and Northeast Asia. You've seen us recently come back from Vietnam into China, into India, soon go back to China, and obviously the UAE and the GCC. So New Zealand, we still believe in free trade. We still believe very strongly that actually tariffs and trade wars will only hurt the global economy, and New Zealand actually is going to plot a course to navigate our way through.
Is there a risk that Donald Trump will see this and you saying we're no longer like-minded with the US and take it as an opportunity to retaliate?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying we will continue to expand the opportunities we have with the US, and as I said, we've come off that pretty well compared to other countries. But we, as an we are also going to take opportunities to expand trade around the world, which is what we've been doing, and we'll continue to do.
Prime Minister, the former president of the New York Fed written a piece for Bloomberg saying that the most optimistic scenario in the US is stagflation. What's your read on that?
Look, there's no doubt about it. The US economy is going to go through a power of pain. This is loading up huge costs onto the US consumer. What it means is there's going to be, an inflationary risk. There's going to be a global, an economic slowdown. My observation of living in the US economy for 8 years is that it actually comes to a standstill pretty quickly. You're seeing that already. Consumers choosing not to buy items because they're going to be more expensive, so they hold off making those purchases. You've seen immediately companies actually wanting to suspend workforces or suspend production because they don't know, because of the uncertainty that exists. So all of that is incredibly destabilising for the US economy. That's my personal view about it, just as someone who's followed economics for a long time. And that's why I've advocated very strongly that tariffs and trade wars is not the way forward.
And how much worse do you think it would be if Donald Trump followed through with his threats this morning of ramping up the tariffs on China?
Well, I think what's been a bit interesting overnight is that you've seen the EU come out and be a little bit more conciliatory. You've seen, obviously, Israel's made a visit to the Oval Office as part of a scheduled visit, I imagine. But actually, let's wait and see. But the point for us is that there's no doubt about it. If they are pursued and if they are followed through, that will have global economic implications. New Zealand in itself, as I said, there'll be things that you're seeing. For example, oil prices get much cheaper. You're seeing the level of imported inflation, what could happen there. We'll manage all of that. We've got upside, downside risks around all of that. There's substitution opportunities for New Zealand products around the world. There's more trade that we want to do with like-minded countries.
Is the government preparing any sort of support package for either Kiwi homes or businesses?
Sorry?
Is the government preparing any sort of economic support package for either Kiwi homes or businesses?
Pertaining to the tariffs? No, not at this stage, because actually for New Zealanders, as I said, the impact of the tariffs will be felt by the US consumers. Our New Zealand exporters, the ones that I've spoken to, still see huge opportunity in the US. In spite of the tariffs. They will manage their way through that, but they will pass those costs on to US consumers. What is the unknown part, which I'm alluding to, is that there will be a global implication for this, and that is a little bit unknown. It certainly is uncertain, and all I'm signalling is that we, as a government that understand economics and we'll have a good financial plan, a good economic plan, we will deal with that along the way. But I just want to acknowledge the uncertainty causes anxiety for people, and that actually, we have actually got this.
Are you having to rejig any of the upcoming budget in response?
No, we are just, we're working, and Nicola will talk more about that today as well, and just on some of the implications for what we think that means for our plans going forward. But no, we're very comfortable with what we're doing as we set up for the budget, but we're just also acknowledging that there is a higher level of global risk and uncertainty. And there are things, as I said, that will have downside impacts. There will be things that could have upside impacts. We don't know exactly what they will be and how they will materialise yet. It's only 3 days since the impact of tariffs, but we're just acknowledging that will be choppier in a more dynamic environment.
Those downside impacts on...
Why are you not going to cut through personally?
Well, again, I don't comment on polls. There's been a number of polls even in the last week. I'm just focused on making sure I'm doing the right thing and focused on what New Zealanders want me focused on. What they want me focused on is the economy, issues like we're talking about here, and how we navigate New Zealand through some more choppier waters, but we can do that.
Voters also have to like you, right? You're the current Prime Minister. Why are they not getting behind you?
All I'd say, Mikey, is I was elected in October 2023. My job's pretty clear, which is to deliver for New Zealanders. That's what this coalition government is doing. We inherited a difficult set of circumstances. We're turning the corner. We've got some challenges ahead of us, but we can work our way through those. My job, if I do it right, in 2026, the people of New Zealand will get another choice, and their choice will then be whether they think they're better off under our government or not.
Kiwi businesses have been going through a period of basically 5 years of struggling. Can they deal with another economic turndown?
Yeah, I want to be really
top of all of
clear. I
that?
mean, we, you've seen us, come out of recession into growth in the fourth quarter of last year. You've seen inflation now is really stable. You're seeing interest rates come down. We're seeing more from, obviously Reserve Bank's got an announcement tomorrow and also next month as well. So we've got some of those settings. That's why I say we're entering this choppier time in a relatively strong position. It's happening to all 195 countries on planet Earth, right? So it's about our relative competitiveness as we manage the same environment that everyone else is dealing with. I think the reality is that we have products and services that actually are in huge demand. There's rapidly rising middle classes across the Indo-Pacific region. We're a small country. We only need to access small parts and niches of the North American market, the European market, the Asian markets to make our businesses work. And we have resilient, agile exporters who have actually been used to dealing with a whole bunch of challenges, and the ones that I've spoken to over the course of the last week are still feeling really positive about their future.
Would the government look to intervene and take
New Zealand First on the same page when it comes to Trump and the tariffs, because New Zealand First seems to be grateful in one sense in terms of New Zealand getting more lightly, you're coming hard, we are hard.
No, I've said the same thing.
We're on the same page.
No, we're on the same page. We're a coalition government, and our view is the same. What we're saying very clearly is, look, yes, we've had baseline tariffs on the US. We have a good relationship with the US administration. We'll continue to build that out. We'll continue to make the case for New Zealand. We'll continue to make the case for our position. But what I'm also acknowledging is the wash-up effect of all of that is, as you've seen with markets overnight, there is huge global uncertainty that's been created by that action. And so it's our job to face up to that reality and to find and plot a path through it. And we can do that, and we are doing that.
Where's the opportunity?
China fit into all of this? I mean, they're our biggest trading partner. Are they a like-minded country when it comes to the rules around free trade and that sort of thing? I mean, where do they fit into all of the statements that you've just made?
Well, again, we've got a big trading relationship with China. It's an important one. It's a long-standing one. We'll continue to advance trade there. In the same way, we're continuing to open up and advance trade in India, a place we've chronically under-traded. The same in the Middle East, the same in ASEAN countries in Southeast Asia, the same in Northeast Asia. So it's an and. New Zealand is well positioned because we've actually are used to trading, we're used to exports, we're used to setbacks. We've got a lot of resilient exporters that are deeply agile, resilient, understanding the markets well, can shift and pivot really nicely, and we want to be able to do business as many places as we can. Many of our exporters into the US, frankly, are still seeing huge growth prospects for themselves in the US going forward from here. They will pass those costs straight through to the American consumers, but many of the ones that I've spoken to, very significant exporters, are still very committed to their growth plans in the US environment.
Just quickly, Prime Minister, are you still confident that you can deliver the budget with the operating capital allowances that were outlined in the budget?
Yes, we are, and all we're just acknowledging, we want to be very transparent as much as we can be about as new events happen in the global economy and uncertainty is sitting there, that we can talk that through with you and actually give you a sense of how we're thinking about it, because we do believe that we've got the right fiscal track. We'll continue to revisit our settings. It is a dynamic environment, but I'm really proud that actually we've got a government that's clear-eyed, focused, number one, on the economy, has been for the last 16 months, and that actually New Zealand is responding and turning the corner. Despite the choppiness, we can navigate a way through, but there will be some challenges along the way.
Jerry Brown is looking at some legislation around better protection of people in public office who are at risk. He says that's worse than it was 5 years ago. What conversations have you had with them? Does National support that idea? Are you concerned about MPs and the risks that they face?
Look, as I've said before, I don't talk about security in my own personal case. I'm conscious that, it's a challenging environment at times. What we saw on the weekend was unacceptable with respect to Shane and Doc Jones. But what I'm trying to find is the balance where I would hate to lose the accessibility to our politicians, and while also trying to keep them safe. And as I move around the country, generally people are pretty good. And yes, we have our moments, and yes, there are threats. But the reality is, I'm trying to find that balance, and I think we've got that balance right. It's right to continue to look at it to make sure that we have. It is dynamic. We should continue to do that. We'll look at what the Speaker's got proposed and have a view on that later. Okay, thanks, team.